Well, it's the match that most everybody has been anticipating all season long, and up to this point, ICC, the number 3 ranked team, coming in against the Ottawa Braves at number 4, West Division C overall. This is for supremacy inside of this division, and of course, to see who's going to stay up top in the rankings, who's going to fall down a little. My name is McCormiel. With me is Cash. Cash, this is looking to be an incredible series, all panned out in front of us. The final match of Week 5 here on the Alpha stream, and well, what better way to end things off?
I really can't think of another way to end things off better than the matchup we have here. Obviously, we just got off from a really hot match. Northwood taking care of things, getting the job done, holding down, locking down that number 2 spot. But here we are with 3 and 4 back-to-back placings, and they're gunning for that number 1 spot. And I think that's what we're looking at most clearly tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, realistically speaking, going into this, losses don't really change anything for either of these two teams in their division. They're looking to make it out inside of the top cut. Either way, though, talk to me a little bit about this ICC roster. Last minute little swap here. It's a little bit of a different roster than we were anticipating coming into this matchup.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Jazerk's not going to be competing tonight for the squad. It's going to be Marx's in for him. Just some last-minute illness, and hopefully Jazerk feels better soon. But with that, Jazerk was going to be the focus kind of for the squad on the matchup. Now we're going to need to see if Alessio, Hyper, Big Head, if they can step up and really take that role over of, you're down your in-game leader, but you need to be able to step up and compete with this Ottawa roster that has all 4 players that can just absolutely gun. So lots of expectations on what is the higher-ranked team going into tonight, but nothing they're incapable of handling.
Both teams overall undefeated in terms of their head-to-head. This is the first time they're going to be playing inside of the CCL. Naturally, it is one of the biggest matches that we've been anticipating again all season long. When you have 2 top-ranked teams, especially 2 teams in the top 5, it's always going to be a lights-out barn burner. But when it's ICC going up against the reigning champions of Ottawa of the CCL last season in Cold War, it's going to be that much better. So we look overall for the side of ICC, 8-0 record, 11-0 in hardpoint, undefeated in every other mode as well. You can say the same thing. It's basically a mirror matchup between both of these teams. The first time they've truly been tested, of course, by one another inside a very competitive West Division C.
It is a very competitive division. Of course, we mentioned that the top 2 spots are secured by these 2 squads, right? Loser is going to go second, first place, or winner is going to take first place, and third is up for grabs. So apart from these 2 teams, there's still a lot being played for in this division. So definitely one of the more challenging ones here that we have in the CCL, and being able to watch these 2 teams duke it out at the top is going to be a treat.
Take a look here for the side of ICC. Overall, we got, again, a bit of a roster change coming into this one, as we kind of highlighted at the top of the show. Marks is in for Jazerk, but Big Head, Alessio, and Hyper rounding out this 4-man roster. And really, I mean, this is the squad that we've seen all season long. They've played extremely well, and you really got to feel for Jazerk here coming into this matchup. You would have loved to be able to play against Ottawa, show some early season strength, but as much as it is kind of a disappointment in a sense, you get to save a little bit for later on in the season if you have to play up against Ottawa again, specifically when we get into that top cut and or the playoffs a little bit further down the road. But looking ahead in the side of this match, the biggest thing is you have a couple of notable names, not only from the CCL, but in challengers in general. Specifically, you look to Alessio, Big Head, 2 big names, 2 players familiar inside of the community who are going to be standout players on this ICC roster.
Yeah, looking to them to take over tonight and really just make a statement here for the squad. When you have familiar faces, you have a lot of rapport, players that are comfortable and trust each other, very much so in the gameplay, and I expect to see no less reflection of that tonight, especially out of the number 3 team.
Well, as we go ahead and finish off talking about ICC, we'll go ahead and take a look at this Ottawa roster. And again, last year we had this team, 2 sister teams that finished 1 and 2 overall in the standings, taking away the championship and the second place purse overall. But you take a look, Herbie, Gunzy, Ethan, 2 nice in Cruelty. Only 1 player though returning from that championship roster last year, and that's Ethan, 2 nice. Losing a couple of players in the offseason was Ottawa. First and foremost, I love how you brought up the Northwood game earlier, because that's where 2 of the players from Ottawa went last year. One was not Austin Cruelty. One was Fame from the sister team that placed second last year. The other one they lost was Chris Radial, a part of that championship roster that played with Ethan, 2 nice. However, Hoop Tape Herbie sticks around. Cruelty is back from the sister team, and then you add an off-season addition of Gunzy, who rounds out this 4-man roster. Look, if you thought ICC was a great team, look no further than the championship roster from last season. A lot of people, I don't want to say are disrespecting them in a relative sense, because they're still our number 4 overall, but I think a lot of the, at least the thoughts and headway from the Ottawa camp is that they deserve not only to be in consideration for the top team yet again, but that's going to be shown here tonight. I think they could not only leap ICC here with a nice little win, but more importantly than anything else, I think they still deserve to be in the top position and conversation for the best team instead of the CCL.
I couldn't agree more, and I don't even think I can state that point better than you did. You have a lot of moving parts in the offseason, and you still come out with a team of this caliber, and that's why we see them sitting at number 4, and like you said, potentially with the possibility to overtake this ICC team tonight. So you mentioned all the different shuffles, different things that have gone down, and well, when it shakes out, pretty satisfied with who you've got rolling into this one tonight. So we're going to dip over to our maps, but man, we're in for a treat.
Starting off on hardpoint, we got a Bacage, then Berlin for our search and destroy. A double deuce of Gavutu if we need to go the distance map number 4, but we will at least see one of those Gavutu maps for map number 3. You know, Cash, we talked a little bit about the series as a whole and what is in store for us, and kind of the conversation that came up was, specifically if Jayzerk would have been playing, this match could have went either way. I have to feel like Ottawa has this one a little further in their favor now, or at least there seems to be a bit more of leeway when you walk into this series, just knowing that one of the better players for ICC isn't there. That's not to put anything bad upon Marxus. Marxus is a great player, but overall, you have to look to Ottawa, who has been extremely good, not only for the last 2 years, but I really don't see necessarily a team that got too much worse and or extremely better. I think they stayed around the relative same spot that they were in beforehand.
Absolutely, and we were looking to Jayzerk as kind of the main talking point for this squad, and with that being gone, well, there goes one of the keys to victory for Ottawa. That's something you can just kind of wipe off the board again in an overall unfortunate situation, but I think that just kind of swings that pendulum a little more to the side of Ottawa to be able to take this, and what better map to find that out, find out who's warm and who's gunny shooting a little bit straighter than Bacage hardpoint.
Get ready for map number 1. Overall, keys to victory. If you're ICC, you want to be able to come out of the gates, take a hardpoint map off of Ottawa to start things off. It's kind of the biggest single-handed thing that you'd like to see. We know last year, Ottawa can clutch up in any game mode realistically throughout a best-of-5 series. It's interesting to say that at the very least, overall, you know, you lose some players in the offseason, you gain some additions for Ottawa. Again, I still think from the relative slaying standpoint and the team composition standpoint that Ottawa is still a team that's not to be trifled with. ICC, they'll have their first attempt here. It's going to be ICC on the left, Ottawa Braves on the right. First hardpoint popped in the middle of Bacage. We're in for a doozy in this best-of-5 series.
The squad at the 50-yard line of the map, just trying to play for some map control, and that is going to go the way of Ottawa here early. Going to also look to get some early time, and as you see these players on the bottom and top side of the map try to advance up across that 50-yard line and look to find picks and work out spawns where they can, looking ahead at this P2, but with 30 seconds left and 13 points on the board, fairly solid start for Ottawa Braves.
Look to Gunsy. Getting a bit frisky over towards the double doors, trying to fly into the middle of the map. Alessio and Hyper will go ahead and pair for 2. Big Head will find a third there. So a 3-to-1 trade going to allow ICC to get a bit of time in the middle of the map. However, as Ottawa doubles back, it's going to be 2 quick kills. Nobody inside of P1 just yet. Few contestants here and there, but this is what you come to expect on a map like Bacage. We'll look to the P2 rotations, and ICC are set up for the new.
Big Head on a 4 streak. It's going to be really crucial to play around, and if you can get streaks early, especially against this Ottawa squad, that's only going to serve to aid your team, as we're going to see the glide bomb come in for Big Head before he falls, but P2 also going to be in the hands of ICC to start, so even if things start to slip away, get a little dangerous, you got a glide bomb in your pocket to open something up with, so kill feed back and forth and evenly traded, but right now it's ICC pretty comfortably in control P2.
Taking the slaying department to the middle of the map, the barn gets cleared out. Ottawa had a nice little pinch set up, at least for the first about 15 seconds, and then it fell apart. However, it was a single play there by Austin Cruelty. Gets himself onto the point. The rest of the team tries to go ahead and fly on through, but the close spawns for ICC should lock down the final 20 seconds of scrap time. You see the rotations come through. Gunsy's going to be there. Ethan starting off not in the greatest form and shape possible here for Ottawa at 1-6, but look for him to step up a bit further as we start getting further into this Bacage. As you start to look over for the next set of rotations, P3's locked down, and a quick 3 kill feed comes in for the Ottawa Braves.
Big gunfight win by the side of Ethan, too nice. Right in the middle of that P3 point just to clear any of these ICC players up that were pushed up, and now working out of P2 and out of barn is going to be Hoop Tape Herbie, as you had mentioned, someone who really can just take over and slay out a map, just trying to cause some mayhem as these players are trying to work their way across the map over this P3, and that's going to warrant the first 15 seconds virtually uncontested from this ICC squad.
Alessio with 2, Hoop Tape. Now enter his hand into the pot, the kitchen. It's sweltering. Fortunately enough for the side of ICC, you're able to go ahead and command it the best that you know how to. Over from the side of the Ottawa Braves, they're still going to spawn close over on the right portion of the mini-map. Biggest question mark is, are you going to be able to slay out enough to be able to find the last bits of scrap time like ICC got over towards P3? They broke you here in P2. They've done a great job of slaying out not only thus far inside of the Spacage, but more importantly, the team plays have been on point from Independence Community College.
Even when they don't have the rotations, they have been able to break in and get a 4-down situation in the feed to warrant them not only a 20-point lead, but a majority of that P3 time where Ottawa did have spawns the entire time. You wondered if they could control and get back in, and they were for that last bit of scrap time, but once again, the Pirates on the rotation, able to get early control of this P4. They do have the spawns in favor, but with an early break, Ottawa looks to get some more time.
Alessio spawns actually behind over towards the right side. This can create an artificial pinch play now, but with the kill feed lighting up in white, the Ottawa Braves have won the majority of their gunfights. They'll hold on to the barn, and this is exactly what they needed to get back into the swing of things, really start to take control not only of this hill, but the game as well in the process. 30 seconds left here on point number 4. We'll look to P5 here in just a few moments on the south portion of the mini-map. Either way, the last contest from ICC, surely here, you're going to be able to slide around the corner. And remember, you guys still has a glide bomb to work with.
Exactly what I was going to mention. If for some reason ICC cannot win the rotation, which really P3 was the only rotation they didn't have to start, they absolutely have that in mind to break open this point, but looks like they're going to be here in position. It's going to be Hoop Tape trying to make things mixy from the front and in the mid-map, but these players are going to be spawning in for ICC. It's going to be early control once again, and if you're Ottawa, if you want to try to create any kind of distance here, you're going to have to win a rotation.
83 to 71, 50 seconds left on point number 5. You see player number 6 in an off-screen engagement against it's Hoop Tape Herbie going up against Hyper. As Hyper starts to fly their way towards the point. Herbie will fly around the side. Gunsy there for a quick little trade. A nice bait and switch. Unintentional at the very least. Either way, Big Head will be able to trade out 4 to 1 there. Streak going to be used now here from the side of ICC. Look to the player who's inside of the tunnel. You won't be able to find him there, but pinstripe kill feed, at least for the time being. Nobody inside of the point. If you're ICC right now, you're just trying to have damage control. Limit how many points Ottawa can get off this hill.
Ottawa's gotten most of it. You invest a streak, it doesn't amount to anything because you can't even get on the time. And Ottawa are going to walk away with the last 10 seconds of this scrap time. Maybe one more player going to be there as a cutoff as we look to go over to this P1. But Ottawa, what was a slow start and fairly close game here, now out to a 30-point lead as they've been not even holding the hills from the preferred side, just making do with what they have on the map. We look to see that turnaround here in ICC, where they've been winning rotation battles. They want to look to keep that up.
Smart play there by Cruelty. Doesn't allow players from ICC to get towards the north side of the minimap, get around the back, and then influence the spawns for P2. Gunsy in the middle of the map will find a big kill there. Onto a player of Big Head who was trying to watch the spawns. In from the side of Ottawa Braves. Inside of the middle of the map, though. P1 being held down, at least for the time. You're just trying to get maybe a second here, a second there, while you're making sure that everybody from the opposition is spawning up and you're clearing them out at the same time. Big Head from the top won't be able to find the shots on the Cruelty, but will snap around on a Hoop Tape Herbie, who's just chilling inside of point number 1. Gonna make you pay for that every single day of the week. And as Ethan will spot Alessio inside of the bottom of the barn. Again, it's the fight in the rotation for P2.
The fight and rotation underway and the slaying for ICC. Big Head really the one carrying the weight for the team. Gonna need to see someone else step up for that squad if they want to start to contest this lead that's now extended out to nearly 50 points. Ottawa fairly even on the slaying side, definitely looking at Gunsy and Hoop Tape here early. Have control of the kill department, and now players from ICC just trying to work through barn, trying to slay these players out, and Marks is popping 3 helps. That's clearance on the hill, and now they're going to start getting time.
Talked about Gunsy and Hoop Tape, but Ethan, again, slow at the beginning of this game. The start wasn't there, maybe not exactly what they wanted. Still hasn't been able to find exactly where he might be liking inside of this hard point for map number 1. Big Head will drop down below. Cruelty on a far head glitch will get the best of Hyper there. So now you find yourselves with 1 player left on the point. This is very similar to what we saw beforehand, Cash, where ICC is holding down P2 and the Ottawa Braves have set themselves up on a P3 rotation.
The question will be, can Ottawa hold off a P3 break and start to get most of that time? They had the right-hand side of the map spawns for the duration of that hill and just were unable to progress past what was their spawn point. ICC doing a wonderful job at just slaying and applying constant map pressure on the Ottawa Braves to keep them back, and now what was nearly a 50-point lead decreased and diminished to about 10 points as we make this rotation over. To Ottawa in early control. Can ICC get an early break, or do Ottawa make the adjustment and really try to grow this lead out here, possibly extend it to up to 80 points with a full 60?
And we look into the north portion of the minimap. You have two players from ICC looking to push up the map. They do a nice job of being able to get in behind, but Cruelty, 200 IQ play, sits back, allows the players from ICC to come to him. Ethan inside of the hard point, going to get the best of Alessio there. Now, if you're Alessio and the rest of the ICC roster, you've broken into P3 oh so swimmingly. If you're Ottawa, you lose this time here, you're basically looking at a tie game. Once we go over towards P4, you're going to easily set up for the rotation yet again. Don't want to push yourselves too far up the map and influence the spawns where ICC will be over towards the barn. However, that's exactly what ends up happening. 10 seconds left here for the Ottawa Braves on the scrap time. You're just hoping for a nice clean break.
These first three hills of the second rotation have been a near cookie cutter to what we saw the first time around. Ottawa get broken, ICC get a good bit of time, but fortunately for Ottawa, how they've played slightly differently. They're able to keep a lead now, but was a tied game at this point last time around. Ottawa are looking to improve on and continue to extend their lead, and with everyone feeling warm, we knew this would be this kind of game, right, Corin? We knew it would be super slay heavy, really contest heavy. Even if it ends up being a 3-0 for either squad, you know the scoreline is going to be much closer than that alludes to. So really Ottawa trying to create separation here and doing just that, keeping ICC pinned back in their spawn, and they're soaking up this time.
Unzi will get knocked down out of the corner. Ethan going to be the last one to really challenge in the barn right now with the players that are going to be close. Nickhead's just going to play the corner. 132 to 163, 15 seconds left here on point number 4. Again, we'll direct our attention down to the south portion of the mini-map. With a minute and 20 seconds left on the game clock, though, overall, time could become a factor as we start getting into the nitty-gritty portion of our hard point here at map number 1. Either way, nothing can be understated. Gunzi, Hoop Tape Herbie, 30 and 27, 31 and 22 for them respectively, have led the way here thus far for the Ottawa Braves. You'll look for the rest of the team to start making a play, start stepping things up potentially, but I mean, you can't really be mad at Cruelty with 23 and 22. It's only Ethan really looking to step up.
You invest a streak if you're ICC, and what I wanted to see was a capitalization on that streak usage, and we don't get it. So even though you invest a streak and find a kill with it, it doesn't warrant you any hill time as players were trying to wrap around the back and maybe try to secure spawns. Ottawa end up holding on and once again are still getting time here, so they're looking to be the team to cross that double century mark first, as we're going to see a double hit come in from this entrance, but Gunzi going to lock down the riverside and hold things down for the squad. Now players just throwing their lives at it and getting picked off one by one. Alessio, the next step to make a play, and well, if you're ICC, it's looking like a little bit of scramble time here as we see Ottawa nearly cross this 200-point mark.
It just sucked there because if you're Alessio, you know, you're just trying to be able to get maybe 1 or 2 people out of the point. Hope that Ottawa can't get past that 200-point mark, but you give yourself away early. Everybody from Ottawa had spawned up. You were the only one left there, and now ICC are in a position where they're trying to set up in the middle of the map. It's the Ottawa Braves, though. Their turn to break from Grandma's. You look to the middle of the map. Big Head's going to be able to win one. Austin Cruelty will get the second in a row. Alessio will read that perfectly through the south portion of the mini-map, be able to hold down to the P2 side for now, but with 45 seconds left, still tons of time for Ottawa to get mixy in the middle of the map, and of course start to push in, and of course across the map for P2s.
Ultimately, if you're Ottawa, you really just want to kind of dip your toe in this and just keep ICC off. If you can make a clean rotation and get P2, you could close the game out there, but if you can snag a couple seconds here, a couple there, we see the spawn flip come in. That's exactly what they're going to be looking to do to close one out. Hyper still a problem in barn, but that is quickly dealt with as Ottawa look to be in the driver's seat for this hard point number 1.
Game starting to break away. Ottawa starting to influence the map in ways only they know how to. Alessio trying to challenge out into the middle of the map. Ethan Too Nice slides around the corner, will be cut down. 22 seconds left on the game clock. So, as said beforehand, time definitely going to become a factor here inside of the game. If you're the Ottawa Braves, right now you're just trying to go ahead, make sure you can dwindle that clock down as much as humanly possible. You're just going to kind of dip in and out and play around that point. You want to get to 250 though at the same time. You don't want to allow ICC any chances or any opportunities to be able to come back inside of map number 1 here. But with 45 seconds left and a great gripping hold over a P2, this is looking like a win for the Ottawa Braves.
Hoop Tape looking to close in on 40 kills before this one ends, and Big Head for ICC dropping 43, almost 44 there. So as far as slaying goes, I mean, again, Big Head 43 and 30. It's been a wonderful showing. There's just been really not too much support from the rest of the team to provide any kind of answer for these players that are hot for Ottawa, which is really all 4 of them starting to really get warm and things are looking up. They are going to get the last 10 seconds of scrap time, going to force us over to a P3, but I'd like to think at any moment, 3 seconds left, Ottawa are just going to end this.
Any moment now, it looks like the tides will shift to the favor of Ottawa. Sure, give play number 4 in Marxist, who's already rotated there, but Hoop Tape Herbie will jump on in, be able to win the best of him there. 0.7 seconds left. The contest is in. Ottawa, instead of going down to the time, they're just going to win it 250 outright. Ottawa in map number 1. What was a close game at the very beginning turned very quickly to a Braves map number 1 win.
We talked so much prior to this series. I mean, of course, both teams sitting at 3 and 4 respectively in the CCL overall for rankings. We talked about, does it go 3-0 one way? Does it go to a game 5? It's so hard to tell. Yeah, you see this score line for this first game. Does a team respond with a good S&D? If you're ICC, you want to have some kind of footing for prediction, but you really just can't. I mean, as dominant and as convincing as that hard point win ended up being for Ottawa, there's still a lot of series ahead of us, and ICC are definitely going to be looking to answer.
Well, again, you know, we talk about a search and destroy all the time. That's where teams are going to be able to bounce back at. But for ICC, you know, you're still undefeated. Same thing with Ottawa, you know, but you really haven't faced really the tenacity of one or the other here inside of a best-of-5 series. So ICC, they know how to get things done in clutch situations where they need to be able to bring things back in their favor. But it's the first time they've really been tested, at least in the CCL this season. We'll take a look at the statistics here for map number 1 overall. The first thing I want to point out, obviously, 46 there from Big Head went huge. But for Ottawa, 240 bombs. Leading the way, though, was big man Gunzy, the Savvy.
Not even leading in damage, but absolutely having his way on the map. Getting around with 32, misread that stat, 32 non-traded kills. An unbelievable and impressive stat line. Nothing less expected out of Gunzy in this Ottawa Brave squad. And yeah, if you are ICC, Big Head's pulling his weight. Can we see someone else step up and kind of share that load?
Look to Gunzy as well, 32 untraded kills to a player who had 5 more kills overall, 5 less non-traded kills. So they were doing a better job on Ottawa of being able to trade out not only ICC players, but again, the slaying department, it really isn't close in comparison to the opposition. Great round there from map number 1. The Ottawa Braves, again, have a 1-0 lead here into the series. We take a look at our map set one more time. Berlin Search and Destroy up next on our docket, and of course that Gavutu control is staring us dead in the eyes for when we're done with the Search and Destroy. Either way, framing things up here, ICC would love to take a Berlin S&D. My biggest question, though, here, Cash, is how are things going to pan out now that they don't have Jzerk and they have to have another player in who really hasn't had as much time to be able to cohese with the rest of this team?
That's definitely something you can point to as a worrying point for this squad tonight, especially with how last second it was and how possibly under-repped the player in Marks is coming in is. But going to a map like Berlin, we saw ICC early on play the rotations really well on that hard point, and obviously Berlin being as big of a map as it is, making your rotation to retake bomb sites, and how do you want to play certain number VX situation, however you want to look at it. ICC still looked to be pretty solid, and even with Marxist, you know, didn't put up the worst stat line. So I'm looking to see them bounce back here, and I think just how they played the rotations, how they were still moving around the map as a team given their situation, I think they're still going to be able to find success here on Berlin.
Berlin is a map where if you allow the submachine guns of either the offense or the defense to get mixed either through the middle of the map, A or the B side, it doesn't really matter where. As long as they can get up and in your face, it's going to be very difficult to break around the map. That's my biggest worry right now for ICC, but the same thing can be said for Ottawa. One person I'm going to point to immediately is going to be Big Head, and that's for very obvious reasons. He is a submachine gun that loves to play aggressive, loves to get in your face, and will put himself in sometimes bad and or unnecessary positions to try and get the first kill. It works out sometimes, other times it doesn't. Hopefully, for the sake of ICC inside of the series, it's one of those maps where Big Head just has an absolute pop-off moment and can drop, you know, at least maybe 3, 4, 5 first bloods. That'd be the saving grace in the highest point in the series. Now, do I think that's going to necessarily happen? Well, it's, of course, to be written in the stars. Either way, Ottawa are looking really nice, especially with the team comp that they have going into this. I think their aggressive submachine gun players, akin to what we saw last year, have enough to get it done, not only in the Search and Destroy, but continuously move forward in the series.
If you're ICC, you absolutely have more than a handful to deal with, given the composition of this Ottawa roster. And if you're Big Head, you alluded to those high-risk, high-reward plays, and you can't be afraid of those, especially going up against a squad as good as Ottawa. You can't shy away, and don't change what you're doing now. I know you said, you know, you can get penalized for them, and that's the risk you run when you try to play that way. But against players like Gunzy and Cruelty and Hoop Tape, you're going to have to throw something unexpected. So, of course, all of these players are very much familiar with each other and different play styles. So what can you throw at them, pull out of the bag to really throw them off and really kind of dictate that pacing that benefits your team. So I'm looking to Big Head to do that. Alessio been an S&D star this season as well. So the turnaround, I'm looking for him there. But Ottawa, you keep mentioning team composition, and for me, that's what's just standing out is you find an answer for Gunzi, okay, now you have Herbie, and then you have an answer for Cruelty, okay, now you have Ethan Too Nice. It's just, you've got a problem everywhere you go. You're only going to be able to match that with equally good teamwork and team composition.
You know, see, the thing is, right, for Ottawa, last year, inside of their facility, you know, it was the two sister teams that were always playing either with or against one another, and it was always fun, specifically when you were looking at matches between the sister teams inside of their facility. The biggest thing is all of them have a certain kind of feel for one another. They know how each other play, and no matter who you bring into this, of course, this season it's going to be Gunzi. No matter who you bring along with the rest of the players, they're always going to have that cohesion because of how long they've played together, but how much they've practiced with and against each other. That's the biggest thing here for Ottawa, is that you have a lot of teams that are going to come in. They're going to challenge you. You're going to have to play against very tough opponents, and you will continuously throughout the rest of the season. But again, I think the practice, tried and true method of the Ottawa Braves, specifically at their team facility, there's just something about it that's almost unmatched and unrivaled. And I think that's what gives them a subtle edge every single time. There's a reason that teams that stay together, slay together, and sure, it might not be the exact same team from last season, but overall, this is a roster that I'm very, very confident in going forward. And I think that, again, they'll still be one of the top teams as we continuously go forward. Obviously, they're ranked number 4, but they could go easily up to number 2, number 1, even after the series.
That's exactly what they're looking to do. Eyes are set beyond the positioning and ranking they're in now, and they're looking for that number 1 spot. They're gunning for it, so we're going to kick things off here. Berlin hardpoint. Alessio saw Gunzi there, mantled, and he's able to rip the head off of Gunzi to get things started. So if you're ICC, the opening you wanted, but the fact that that's instantly traded, and Ottawa doing that so well, playing the trades, something you're going to have to find an answer for on Berlin S&D.
I thought Alessio was going to hop out the window. Either way, Cruelty's going to be there. Hyper with a sniper. Oh my goodness, almost. I maybe, just maybe, thought that he was going to be able to get that first pick, and then maybe something else happens. But either way, Ottawa will take round number 1 after a first pick from Alessio, then goes awry with a double coming out from Ottawa in the mid portion of the round. So we saw an aggressive push over towards the A site. It works, but not in the way that maybe everybody would have thought.
2 streak. Ethan sitting on to start, and streaks can be immensely viable on Berlin, though there's a lot of indoor space. You can definitely use it for information at the bare minimum to relay to your team, and these ICC players are going to look for a quick rotation over to B, play for some info, maybe get some tax out here in a moment as Hyper's going to put eyes on Ethan, and that should be clear for them to know that, hey, we've got some company over here, we're going to need to at least get a pick before we make a move.
Cruelty just sitting in this B site, knows that somebody wants to go ahead and challenge right around the corner. Playing so smart. So passive, first player flies on in, Hyper will fall. So that's going to be bombed down in towards that B site. ICC now with a man disadvantage, and the bomb down over in the site. You'd have to suspect, unless miracles were at play, that this should be a round win here for the Ottawa Braves. It'd have to be a technical 1 versus 4 here. Big Head the last one alive in a 1 versus 3, 40 seconds left.
Aware of his positioning. There goes the look around on docks, and that'll be the pick. Ottawa go up 2-0 early. If you're ICC, this is one where, of course, the scoreline could dictate a close, maybe clean sweep series, but you do not want to let them go up 2 in the series. I know we still have a lot of search and destroy left, but this Ottawa team is one that once they get rolling, they'll run away and not look back. And Ethan on a 4 streak now, Cruelty on 2 of his own. A couple players for ICC unable to get something on the board to start. Here on this defensive round, they're going to need to look to find a response. It's got to be big.
One more kill. You'll find yourself a streak. Bomb working its way over towards the middle of the map. Potential B hit inbound. Ethan going to try and get some height in terms of map positioning. Try to spot out a few players on ICC. Maybe get some intel and some information. Hyper's going to be the first one to challenge. Ethan is going to win that gunfight 9 times out of 9. As you get 5 in a row, you look for Big Head, who's around the corner. You don't necessarily know that they're there. Big Head will come for a trade. Either way, you still have a glide bomb in a 3 versus 2.
Bomb still trying to make a decision in the mid-map. They have complete clearance over B if they wanted to make that rotation, but with the numbers, maybe they'll just like to pick these players. Now see the bomb working that way as they're aware of this position. Hoop Tape's going to pick up one on the transition. Trigger discipline out of Alessio to call that player. know they're there, and what I thought was going to be an easy pick, Hoop Tape ends up taking. Maybe a little too much trigger discipline there, and Ottawa go up 3-0.
Time and time again, you know, we get into an S&D, specifically here in the CCL. One of the biggest things we always like to hit on is how is your team composition going to affect the overall search and destroy stature that you're bringing to the table. And right now, it's just showing that, you know, familiarity with one another is leading the way in every major statistic here for this out of Ottawa. The team pushes have been phenomenal. The slaying has been top here. And once again, it's just a situation where, yeah, it's sure it's only a 3-0 lead, but it just feels like this is getting ran away with right now for Ottawa. ICC just has not had an answer, and you still, unfortunately, have Hyper, who's at 0-3. Would love for the entire team to step up, but specifically Hyper.
Vanguard is a game where team chemistry alone hardly gets it done. You've got to be able to slay with how quick and frequent these exchanges are. Gunsy's going to peek, kill the planner, and bounce, but back to that point, Ottawa has it all. They have the team comp, they have the slaying, and they're just flexing it at this point. Like you said, it's only 3-0, anything can happen, but it just feels like been a momentum shift here on the search and destroy early. When you rip off 3 that cleanly and that quickly, just makes you take a step back and question, like, wait, what's going on? How are we going to get a response here? Hoop Tape's going to find a nade, bomb is going to go down, but in a 4v2 situation and everyone about to collapse on the site, better buckle up and hold on.
Marcus and Hyper last 2. Hoop Tape Herbie. We'll find a second there. Hyper over towards the staircase. This actually could be big. You're going to be able to spot out the first player, but they should be able to turn directly back around. You'd know that nobody's on the bomb just yet. Oh, could you imagine? Somebody goes ahead, flies out towards it. Hyper going to be making the play back around. Actually, I thought he might have been able to shoot in through there. Oh, the sniper's going to come through. He's going to get the player off the bomb. Gunsy's going to be able to snuff him out the door directly after the fact. Oh, but could you believe that if Hyper would have clutched up in a 1 versus 4? He would have been screaming his name to the high heavens and back for the entirety of the night.
That would have been magnificent to see, especially with the Car 98 and Automaton duo just trying to get away with his life, unfortunately. Unable to the door. Maybe playing for the Braves tonight. Keeps him in just a second longer, and now looking at 4-0, I keep saying ICC has to make an adjustment and really point at anything, and that's something that they'd have to adjust. Obviously, no player having more than 2 kills on the team. First blood are very much not going their way. You could start there with getting a pick, getting that information, getting out your life. A quick bomb plant to get the time in your favor would also help. And now we're seeing some decisiveness as far as these players, just 3 going towards A, but it's going to be Ottawa on the other side. Going to be calling in the glide bomb here just to pass the information, and they want to put this one away.
Glide bomb won't find anything, but will at least allow Ottawa to know that the ICC Esports roster are all over towards that A site. Free plant over at B. They can wrap back, set up in a post-plant situation. Big Head trying to chase down Ethan up here and towards the top. Hyper will be the first one there. Challenge around the corner will go the way of the Ottawa Braves. 4 versus 3. You spot the player over towards the right. Oh, you get the snap. Big Head. You would have lost that one. I would have been laughing for quite some time. Bomb's actually getting defused. It's Cruelty, go ahead and check it. He does. They're going to hop off it. Now from behind. Gunsy, the last one here. Player trying to pinch from the opposite window. Gunsy, though, will hop up, get the line of sight. It won't matter. Headshots galore. A 5-round sweep here from Ottawa on match point. Trying to go up 2-0 in the series. A full sale from ICC would have to be imminent.
And how shocked are you by this score line? I know ICC had a last-second substitution made. Maybe that messes with the practice, and of course it does. Messes with the practice and the vibes kind of going into this. You're sub for a reason, right? You trust what Marcus is able to do, but obviously setting at 1-5, less than desirable. But their whole flow's just got to be off, and you can really see it here. So unfortunate for this matchup thus far. It's really been quite a landslide in Ottawa's favor, and definitely surprising.
Offensive route over towards the B site. Player number 1 in the top of the fire window. Won't spot anything over towards that B site just yet, but as Hoop Tape Herbie, who again is on 6 in a row, tries to go ahead and find the first. Marxus will be the one there. Would be a beautiful nade if it is able to hit. Fly bomb going to be used up and over the top. You got to get out of dodge. You got to get out of there quickly. But Big Head, he just tries to run out. Knows that nothing's going to come through. They actually double glide bomb over towards the B building. When they knew that the bomb was going over that way, they said, screw it. We're going to be able to get 2 free kills. More importantly, it's the final round that they can use these streaks because they're up 5-0. And now it's Alessio left in a 1 versus 5. Sure, you might be able to make something work. But Ethan, well, he'll sniff that out. He's just too nice with it. The Ottawa Braves, a 6-0 win in the search and destroy. They'll sweep that map and they'll go up 2-1, excuse me, 2-0 in the series.
As quick as we were in is as quick as we were out. Ottawa wasting no time in map number 2. We talk about how unrivaled they are in their division, right? Both sitting very comfortably at the 1 and 2 spot, respectively. But you can tell with how they're playing tonight, Ottawa's eyes are on much more than what their pool placings are going to be. They're looking at that number 1 spot in the CCL. And, well, I don't know about you, but I think they're making quite the case.
I'd have to agree. And like I said before coming into this game, I think a lot of people were either underestimating Ottawa or just trying to play it a little bit cautiously with the rankings of the Braves just because of the roster changes that were made over the course of the offseason and how that would affect this roster. Seemingly thus far, it hasn't affected anything except in very positive attributes. And again, you know, Ottawa, this is a team last year that didn't lose a map in the regular season, or at least one of the teams didn't lose a map in the regular season, but they're trying to replicate that here yet again. We'll take a look at the statistics here for map number 2. There's really not much to look at in the way of ICC, but for Ottawa, oh, there's a plethora of a gold mine here. 8-3 there for Ethan, too nice. 7-1 for Hoop Tape Herbie, ended on a 6 streak, and that was basically all she wrote inside of the Search and Destroy Berlin. That was the map of winners, and the winner was Ottawa Braves.
If you are Ottawa, like you said, so much to ride home about, all players playing well. Again, you just have to keep tipping that to the rapport these players have with one another and just trusting and knowing they play off of each other's tendencies and abilities. Whoever's on, they play around and adjust accordingly. And, well, when all 4 players are on, you feel like you're in stride playing in tandem and just doing your thing. Ottawa look very comfortable on the maps that we've seen them on thus far. And as we switch gears to, I believe, what is a Gavitu Control, another big map where we've seen Gavitu controls get up very messy, especially on the defensive side. And oh boy, Ottawa definitely want to put it down on ICC to close this out.
Messy series. Ottawa Braves have already given ICC their first 2 map losses of the season, trying to make it an entire series and put a blemish on that perfect record. When we come back, map number 3, a Gavitu Control. McCormiel with me, Cash. We'll be back here in just a minute. Welcome back to the CCL, folks. My name is McCormiel. With me is Cash. It's been a fun series thus far. Some people expected this. Other people might view this as kind of an upset, being the number 4 team is up 2-0 on the number 3 ICC roster. But if you were here last year, obviously this really doesn't come as any surprise. Ottawa, once again, a top team inside of the CCL. Moving parts in the offseason. Team joined with the other sister team to make an entire roster as a whole. Either way, it's been a fun series thus far. Map 1, relatively close, at least through the mid portion. In the end, it was Ottawa who started to pull away. 250-196 was the score of map number 1. Then it was a 6-0 steamroll steamer in a map number 2, Berlin. Really felt like we were back in the golden age of the Ottawa Braves roster from last year with how clean that map looked. Now we go to a Gavitu Control for map number 3, where Ottawa is trying to stay perfect in map record and perfect in series as they try to pull off a 3-0 sweep against the ICC Pirates.
And if I'm ICC, I know control maps are a coin toss. It's either Tuscan or Gavitu, and the fact that you're going to Gavitu, that just doesn't bode well unless you can really turn things around. But we know how well this Ottawa squad has been slaying thus far tonight. And I mean, just looking at our score lines that we've had from the first 2 games, it's been very much Ottawa from here on out. And like you said, not too unexpected if you've been around any duration of time here at the CCL. So this Ottawa squad definitely looking to close things out here, and Gavitu can get a bit messy, especially for the team that's really feeling yourself. So ICC, if they can respond and really kick off this reverse sweep, then this would be an impressive one to do it on.
Well, map number 1, kind of the keys to success that we had framed up at least was shut down Gunzy, shut down Austin, basically shut down everybody that can have a pop-off moment. And, well, if you know any of these players on Ottawa, you know that any of them can go off at any given time and have those big pop-off moments. For ICC, though, let's talk about them for a moment, because I don't want to shed too much of a negative light right now, as much as I'm shining a positive light on Ottawa. The ICC Pirates have had a great season thus far. That's no surprise to anybody. Again, if you are kind of just tuning into the stream and whatnot, they are playing without Jzerk right now, who has been the top slayer on this ICC roster all season long. So base too much off the series as a whole. However, we can at least base some things off of it in totality. So, Cash, I now ask this question to you. What is it like playing without your main guy, your main Slayer, and then having to fill somebody in so last second and then try to be able to take a series off one of the best teams in the CCL?
Well, not only are you worried about trying to take a win off of one of the best teams in the CCL with your regular guy, but now you have a sub who you're hoping can step up and really come in and instantly make a difference on the squad, right? You mentioned Jzerk being the leading Slayer on the team. So, you know the player that Marxus is, what he brings to the table, but you're down your best player at this point. And like you'd mentioned, that's not to knock on Marxus at all, but this player has to come in and effectively make a change immediately, not only just for the way the team gels, but how they're performing on the map. And we unfortunately haven't seen that tonight for ICC. So just a series of unfortunate events. And I mean, again, this ICC squad is third ranked overall in the CCL, and they're down 2-0 against the number 4 ranked Ottawa Braves, who people think should be ranked higher. This isn't some miraculous upset. ICC isn't, blowing a devastating lead to a team they shouldn't be. They're, doing the best they can with the situation that they're in. And hey, if you're Ottawa, you're just coming out and putting on a show tonight.
Absolutely. And another thing is, too, right, again, as much as this is kind of like a pride match overall, and it's a rankings match, too, because, I mean, if Ottawa wins this, obviously they have to at least leapfrog over the side of ICC in the standings. But the biggest thing for me, at least, that I see inside of this isn't too big of a match for either team, except, again, for that pride standpoint. Because inside of their division, they're the clear-cut top two. These are the best teams inside of West Division C. And overall, if you're Ottawa, this is more just playing for that number 1 seed when we go to Top Cut. So, there's some things there. There's other things that aren't. Overall, though, this is an important match, while it's also I don't want to say unimportant, because every match is important, but, it's not the end of the world for ICC by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, there's not going to be some landslide in the rankings. Obviously, the divisions are secured. ICC will simply play second coming out of their pool, which, they're clearly going to make. So, like you said, no devastating consequences for ICC if they lose this. Again, the pride match, of course, you'd like to be able to take this off of Ottawa. And, maybe you say, hey, given our actual roster, this might have been a different looking night. It's still not over by any means, but definitely something for ICC to look at and say, hey, maybe we need to be more well prepared for a situation like this. Never know when it could happen again, and definitely things to take and learn from. But as we get on board here, it's going to be ICC starting off on offense on this Gavin 2 control, and Gunzi open up with first blood.
Gunzi, Big Head back to their slaying ways. First couple of bloods here inside of the game. Over towards the A site. It's ICC. We're trying to go ahead on the offensive side, attack, get that first bit of progress. 3 lives off of each team, at least at the beginning here. Hoop Tape will be traded out with Alessio after a fact. Pinstripe kill feed will leave ICC over towards the bottom of the LST. Shift with the first bit of progress. Minute 6 left here in the round. Time stopped, obviously, because ICC's on that point. But once they get off, you'll see that time start to move yet again.
Marxus on 3, and the turnaround we've, needed to see from the sub, possibly getting things kicked off here. Now on 4 in a row, and a glide bomb would be huge to open up this B site early. I know ICC isn't going to want to hang on to that streak too long. Not going to want to waste any time if they don't have to. We'll see how they opt to play it if Marxus can get there, and unfortunately, the caster curse comes in. Apologies for that one. Not going to get the glide bomb, but hey, you have nearly 2 ticks of progression at A, and you've held off the pinch of getting trapped in your spawn. So if you're ICC, huge victory here. 2 ticks of progression in, life count in your favor, and things are looking up.
2-2 can be a map. You have your ARs do battle across the entirety of what is a ruined beach map. Hoop Tape Herbie will slide on in. Tries to go ahead and knock everybody off the A point for ICC. 30 seconds left. Even if you add an extra minute onto the clock, it's going to be so difficult to start pushing your way over towards B, especially since lives are still tied at 17 apiece. You're halfway through the last bit of progress at this A site. Hyper's going to be able to win a one-on-one gunfight there against Cruelty. Around the corner, though, it's Hoop Tape Herbie who is there. You're trying to go ahead, shut things down here on a very quick and early defensive round. If you are the Ottawa Braves, you're pushing the players back into their spawns. Hoop Tape Herbie now on 6 in a row. After the pistol goes for the automaton, why not make it 7 tries for number 8? You got full streaks in the process, so it really doesn't matter, but you're raining hell and bullets down on the map right now. The Ottawa Braves, an easy defensive round there to start out round number 1.
As much as I was giving ICC props for really holding off the A push and avoiding getting pinched in their spawn, it takes 1 wipe and an aware team to simply collapse in on the information, push beyond the boat, and really just keep you pinned in there. And, well, when Ottawa saw the opportunity, they took it. Now they're going to try their hand at offense here and try to win one. We're going to see an early A break off, as is per usual. With Gavitu, we'll see how the first blood exchange goes. I'm gonna guess Gunsy's gonna have something to say about this first interaction, but Cruelty gonna snag that one.
On the corner, oh. Dangerous gunfight there for Marxist. You're almost able to take it against Ethan, but the Ottawa Braves have found themselves over towards that A site. It can be difficult to run around this map with an MP40, but Big Head's made it work, at least getting round 6 and 5 overall. You look to the shots onto Ethan, but as Ethan finds 2 and Hoop Tape will pair for the third one, you've got the first bit of progress. You're going for number 2. Marxist will sprint onto the site with a pistol. Interesting gunfight. Don't know if I would have taken that one myself, but still it's going to allow Ottawa to go ahead and find themselves that second bit of progress. No contention here. Big Head will fall to the hands of Gunsy.
Ethan on a 5 streak, Gunsy on a 3, and these players are just only looking to turn up the heat here as they're all but about to get this A site and work their rotation over to B, and Gavitu being so much different than Tuscan, of course. Your ICC on defense, using the clock to your advantage is going to be huge. Now, you do have to hold off 2 minutes worth of attacks from Ottawa. You are down 7 kills in the lives department, and so we've seen crazier things happen, though. You know, teams with no respawns have been able to hold off defensive pushes simply because of the hike you have to make across the map, but Gunsy's about to blow this game wide open. I mean, trolling at this point, and there it is. I would say.
Oh, Gunsy's thrown open at the same time. Oh, Gunsy. Oh, Gunsy.
Oh man, the icing on top of the cake. That is this series.
We
and,
do a little trolling.
Just a touch, I would say, a sprinkle.
Oh gosh. Ottawa must be feeling good right now. 22-13, 5 spree, glide bomb, using everything, throwing the kitchen sink at the ICC Esports roster. Oh, why don't you throw 2 glide bombs at him at the same time? It's basically the same thing we saw inside of the search and destroy. You get the player all the way in the back spawn, 10 life advantage now. This one's got to sting for ICC.
It absolutely has to, and you know, you wish you could have come out and given a more contested series. Again, you know, we keep alluding to the circumstances that befell them, and Jzerk unfortunately falling sick just before the match and having to substitute in Marks this last minute. So, you know, that obviously does make a difference, right? You can call it excuse, call it what you want, but really the squad is down not only their leader, but Slayer in all departments from kills to objective, and that's going to make a difference for you. You come in, you prepare for this match. Like you said, this hasn't been foreign on the calendar, right? They've known this one's coming, and for things to change and go the way that they did last minute, it is just unfortunate, but if you're ICC, hey, you're going to still give it your best shot while you're here, and you're holding them off. 30 seconds left. Ottawa do have to make a break. I mean, you know, you're holding them off, but for what, right? You win the battle to maybe lose the war, but if you're ICC, you got to take what you can get.
17 seconds left. You still got to get over onto the point. There's only 3 lives left for ICC. 1 versus 13. Big Head theoretically could do this without having to get too many kills, but as Ethan in towards the top of the flak gun by P1 will find the kill. Ottawa, the second round. It's technically been, I guess, 8 straight rounds. I guess if you want to continue off of the search and destroy for the Ottawa Braves. They win the defense, now the offense. And now they go back to the defensive side, potentially for the final time here on Gavutu ICC. Your last opportunity to make an impression inside of this series. Can you get it done? Will you win an offensive round? You just hope. Maybe, just maybe you can.
The reverse sweep of reverse sweep's gonna have to come in for ICC to keep their series hopes alive tonight. And really, I felt like we saw that momentum shift come early on in that Berlin S&D. It was when they went up 3 rounds very quickly. It just kind of felt like, okay, maybe these players are checked. You know, you don't know what's going on. But Ottawa, more so than anything, looked to be comfortably in control of this, the way they're moving around the map, the fluidity between the players. You know, the comms have got to be on point, and now we see player 5 Hoop Tape try to get a little overzealous up in the spawn, really try to pin him in there. But this Ottawa Braves team, as much as we talk about, you know, the unfortunate situation for the side of ICC, you look at Ottawa and they're capitalizing on what is an unfortunate situation. But if a team wants to gun for number 1, they can't do anything less.
Cruelty for 2. Gunsy there, a 3-1 trade. Leaves Ottawa with a 26-21 life advantage. Over towards the A site yet again. ICC's trying to go for their first bit of progress. Only 30 seconds left here, though, inside of round number 3. One last opportunity, again, for ICC to be able to clutch up here. The cold hands of the Ottawa Braves. As we saw from Gunsy last round, it was WWE SmackDown. They're trying to complete a 3-0 sweep, not only in the series, but in the control as well. 18 seconds. You still got time. You're trying to get the first tick of progress on A, and you'll do just that. Closer
life discrepancy here than in previous rounds, now about 4 or 5 kills. You get to take a progression, make that 2. It's just a matter of staying alive, and with one person left on the point, pinch coming in, Ethan's going to be able to find this player, and that could all but do this game.
Players surrounding off of the spawns. The Ottawa Braves have every angle locked down somehow, some way. Hyper was able to kill Ethan there. You get out of your spawns. You're just trying to get back over towards the bottom of the LST ship. 3 seconds left. Even if there's a congestion, the clock will stay at 2.2 until there's nobody from ICC left on this point. You'll add an extra minute onto the clock. But unfortunately, that could just mean an extra minute of suffering. The Ottawa Braves are still holding this map down completely through the middle of the map. You see 2 players already looking at the LST ships. It's a double up on lives for the Ottawa Braves. You're just trying to dwindle this down. 45 seconds left, trying to hold on for one final push.
And I do like the heart we've seen from this ICC squad, right? They haven't given up. They're still looking to make a push, and they have the clearance to get over there. So, game still not over. Alessio going to pop 5 and pop a glide bomb, trying to grant any kind of clearance for the team to work their way over to this B site. Big Head going to get the kill before the streak can connect. So, Gunzy just going to try to hold things down here from this Heady. And as these Ottawa players work up, it's only a matter of the collapse as the wallbang trying to come in. Big Head going to pick up 1, try to snap to a second, and plays are being made.
I mean, you're winning the majority of your gunfights right now. Ooptape Herbie will fall to the hands of Big Head. What a comeback this would be here in map number 3. Second tick of progress over towards B. Comes in. Ottawa Braves now trying to make a pinch back. Big Head, 2 in a row. 4 straight kills. 1 more for a glide bomb, but there's Gunzy. Now the contestant onto the point. They knew they had to fly in. Last player here, Hyper, trying in a 1 versus 2 scenario around the corner. You still got Marxus who's there trying to make a big play, but Cruelty will cut that down. 3 lives left for ICC. 7 to the side of Ottawa Braves. Ethan going to be able to take down the first. 2 versus 6. 23 seconds left. Nate just trying to fly into the middle of the map. Hyper going to be making their way up. You're going to know exactly where they are. And with 20 HP, Alessio flies back over towards the beach. Austin should be able to read this with the help of Gunzy, as well as Ethan. 2 nice. 8 seconds left. They're counting down the seconds until the 3-0 sleep is in all of its completion. The Ottawa Braves are going to do it against Independence Community College. The Pirates will go ahead, find themselves ashore with a crashed pirate ship in the background, and the Braves will take them over like the vicious Vikings they are.
Well, geez, when you end it like that, I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to follow up with. I mean, way to close that one out. But honestly, Ottawa having their way in every mode and series. Things were close potentially in the Bakash hardpoint to start, where ICC was winning rotations and starting to win some of those gunfights. But when Ottawa turned things up to 10, well, there was no looking back, as they, like you said, went now 9 rounds undefeated against this ICC squad. So at this point, it's still an important match, but maybe nothing more than a pride match. And if you're ICC, that one stings just a little bit more than you would have liked it to.
Fun series overall. Again, Independence Community College playing without one of their best and most influential members of that roster. So we can't really gauge too much off of Independence Community College. But for Ottawa, playing at full strength, they looked superb here tonight inside of this best of 5 series, a 3-0 sweep overall. We'll take a look at the statistics here now. Overall for that last map, 22-19 for Hooptape Herbie, Cruelty with 20-12. We obviously don't get to see that final player there at the bottom, but overall, once again, we could just kind of go ahead based off of the trends. It was yet another great game for tagging along there. Everybody on Ottawa doing their part to get the job done on map number 3. ICC, on the other hand, of course, is kind of back to the drawing board, but at the same time, you don't really learn all that much from the series. All you know is that Jzerk is going to make so much of a bigger difference than Marxus is. And that's no shade to Marxus whatsoever. It's not only a lack of practice for ICC overall, but it's just that cohesion that they did not have tonight, that they're so used to, is really what was the downfall of this roster. I mean, not taking credit away from Ottawa, but you really cannot gauge how good this roster is against a top team like Ottawa unless they're at full strength.
I definitely would like to see this matchup once again with Jzerk back to full health, and props to Marxus for being able to step in what truly was last minute and showing up for the team tonight to put on for this game. So with Jzerk back in the lineup hopefully soon, this ICC squad, like you said, just gonna look to work on the things they need to from here. A pretty tough gauge as far as tonight went in Ottawa. Well, you're firing on all cylinders, and sure, you have some things you can look at and really just nitpick and tidy up on, but I mean, look at how those last 2 maps went, and can't say there was too much of a flaw in them.
250 to 169. Nice. Map number 1. 6-0 Berlin Search and Destroy, and a 3-0 Gavoot 2 Control ends things off puts ICC's undefeated record to rest. Ottawa will stay not only undefeated in overall series, but in map count as well. And well, I mean, there's really not much else to say about that map as a whole.
There isn't much else. Props to Ottawa for coming out and doing what they needed to further prove their case for that #1 spot in the CCL. And if you're ICC, once again, it's just such a hard thing to gauge because it was such a peculiar situation where we weren't expecting the lineup that we got. And so, you wonder what stock they'll even take in the matchup tonight. Again, more reps in practice, of course, going to be coming in. Expect to see a flip-flop between these two teams as far as ranking goes, but no crazy implications here. Still 2 weeks left of gameplay, and both these squads just looking to make their case for the top.
Both teams now going to be moving forward inside of West Division C. Again, basically both locks inside of their division to make it out of at least this first stage of the CCL season. At least for the mainstream, that does it for tonight. However, we still have a match going down on our Bravo stream, and that's where we'll send things to after we're done here. But the Mountaineers are going up against Shenandoah Esports. It's a 1-1 tied series on a Tuscan control. We'll send you down there in just a moment. And of course, you'll be riding along there with Susano and Mick, the very capable hands of those two gentlemen down there. Either way, though, Cash, I mean, I must say, first time on the Alpha stream, it was a pleasure having you along here. I know everybody else at home not only was enjoying the games, but you made such a great compliment to this match. It was a pleasure, as always, being able to do that with you.
Being on the desk with you is always a treat, and you never know what you're going to get with Corn. I know a few people can say that, but it's always for the best. It's always for the best. You've been an absolute treat to work with thus far, and again, thanks for having me on board for my first Alpha stream. It was a pleasure, and I know the vibes and energy are always cranked up to 10 whenever I'm with you, and it just makes for a wonderful night.
Good times here on the CCL stream, at least on the Alpha portion of things. We're going to end here tonight. That's it for week number 5. We'll be back live again next week at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Alpha. In the meantime, though, CCL action isn't done overall. Again, go to twitch.tv/CollegeCOD Bravo, and you'll be able to see the finishing touches on that map between the Mountaineers, Shenandoah Esports. Either way, been a great time here tonight. As I said beforehand, take care. My name is William McCormiel. With me, Cash. Thanks to production and everybody else that makes these streams possible. We'll see you next week and on the Bravo stream. Have a great night. Stay safe.